Good evening. I'm going to give it a minute, see if people join. Somebody's bound to. It's Sunday night, Sinday school. Hope you're ready for some information about plants. I'm a weirdo, and this is going to be fun, I promise. I'm still going to wait a little bit, because it's only 8:33, and some people might be tardy. Cassie's out there, so if you hear a puppers, that's her. We're just hanging out, ready to learn about plants. I'm Ash Mac. I don't think anyone's here yet. It's cool. I might wait in a second. I do apologize if it glitches, and if it does, I will pause if I see it glitching on my end. I do live in the middle of almost nowhere now, so if I do glitch out, I'll pause and see if I can catch back up. Someone is here, yay! What's up, one person? How are you doing tonight? I'm about ready to talk about plants, and this is actually a workshop I wrote to do at festivals and to do out on different properties, but I figured I would test run this plant education workshop on you guys for Sunday school, since I put so much work into it, and it was something that didn't happen at a pretty big festival. This year I hope to be bringing this program to multiple festivals, and I can also do workshops or bring this workshop to you. So I'm just going to glance over some things that we want to know about plants and my history with plants. I've been working since I was a little girl with different plants. I helped grow gardens with my family, and I've always been outside in nature learning about plants, mushrooms, foraging, etc. I worked for New York State, and I ran the colonial and kitchen gardens and did all the herbalism and herbal work for a state historic site. That was so much fun and like a dream come true. And I've been hardcore self-studying herbs and plants for at least 15 years. So, and I've been going to classes under Lisa Ferguson Crow and with Pete and a whole bunch of other people. So I've been in the local plant world for a long time. So I just want to talk about the importance of ethical and sustainable practices when you are herb crafting or going to look or forage for things. You have to make sure that you're ethically doing everything and you're taking only what you should and leaving a gift or offering. These plants are all around us for a reason. There's things you see all the time that have amazing benefits that you aren't even aware of. So it's important to learn about the plants around you to help get that connection to nature. Hello, 5 people. Good evening. Welcome to Sunday school. So it's important to have a connection to nature and to get plants that you know where they're coming from. Know your source. If it's a store, a person like Julie or myself, or if you grow it, that's the best way. Foraging is also another great way. But 4 out of 5 herbs or herbal products that you buy are actually, hi Castle, they're actually not even plants at all. So it's really important to know what and where your plants are coming from and what they are. So it also is a way to preserve history, and it's a lot of fun. It helps build a growth habit, like a habit of growth and continual learning, because when you start to learn about plants and mushrooms, you will just keep wanting to learn more and more and more and more. So safety first is number 1. Know what you're doing. Know what you're picking. Some things you can only eat once. That's why I really don't do any classes with fungi right now. And fungus, because it's really tricky and you need to learn a lot before you can just, so hello Kevin. So I like to mark plants and practice and then come back and visit them in every season to get a good idea of what does it look like in spring, summer, fall, and winter. That way you know when to best harvest things, because some things are best harvested in the middle of winter, like chaga. You don't want to go harvest chaga in the middle of the summer. You want to harvest chaga after 20 plus consecutive days of temperatures under 30, and you want to make sure that you're not taking all of it, like a tenth of it you should take. So it's really important to know what you're looking for and when to harvest what. You should also learn what plants are endangered and threatened. If I outsource a lot of plants, even though I could go pick some near me, such as the ghost pipe, which I'm going to talk about later, also called Indian ghost pipe, you don't want to just go harvest all of that. It takes forever for it to grow. The same with a trillium. You don't just want to go pick a trillium flower. Then it takes almost 8 years to blossom. And the same with like ramps or wild leeks. You don't want to go pick a whole hillside because that took 20 plus years to grow. So it's really important to know what to pick and when, and how much you can take reasonably. So always know your source. Make sure that it's this why what? You don't want to just go take everything. Please tell me what your question is pertaining to. But just because you see a plant doesn't mean that it's not endangered or threatened. So yes, we have ghost pipe here. Should I harvest it? No. Out west, it's way more abundant. Here, it's actually really threatened in upstate New York on the East Coast. So you can't just run around taking all of everything. You have to leave it. Some things need their roots left or a certain way to be cut, or you have to leave the majority of wild ginger. There's just so many different things that come into play depending on the plant. So you have to make sure that you follow the rules of threes. So when you're harvesting, you never take more than a third of or a tenth of a plant. That way you can allow the plant to continue to keep growing. You never want to harvest anything within like 50 foot of a road or where there might be oil or gas. In one class I learned that in certain states they were dumping fracking waste on the sides of roads. So it's really important not to just jump out of your car and pick something, especially if you're going to be using the herb or plant topically or internally. So you want to go away from roads and like somewhere safe to find the plants. Make sure that it's not treated chemically. You can't use dandelions that were grown on a chemical coated lawn. It's just not going to be good for you. And also, if you can learn to plant and reseed, you can learn to plant and reseed things whenever possible. Also, I'm going to mention at the end of the class or workshop here that the 4 plants that you should really always stay away from, and it's important to know invasive species and poison ones. Why? Okay, sorry, it just came through, Michelle. The one that you can't harvest unless it's been consistently cold. Chaga grows on birch trees, and it's like a parasite, but it has a symbiotic relationship with the birch tree, so it grows on it, and during the winter, the tree goes dormant, and the chaga is actually the strongest. So all of the energy of the tree is protected in the roots, and the chaga is protected and it's flourishing because it's the one in charge right now. So that's the best, most potent time to get them, is when the tree is the most asleep. That way you're not harming the birch tree when you harvest it. But you have to be really careful not to take more than a third or a tenth of the piece, depending how big it is. Like I mentioned before with like grandmother plants or the eldest plant, you always have to leave the most robust plants. Take the younger shoots, take the new ones, and always try to thank the plants. You can leave an offering, a piece of hair or a song or a poem or tobacco, whatever it is that you want to leave, a bead, words of thanks. Just acknowledge the plant as you're harvesting it. It's very important to harvest with gratitude and good intentions while you're getting ready to take a plant to turn it into medicine. Yeah, Kevin, a lot of people don't know that about chaga, and it's so frustrating to see people harvesting chaga. Yeah, I had a glitch again. So yeah, it's worth waiting and harvesting things at the right time. So when we talk about plants, I don't get into each thing specifically, north, west, east, or south, but I try to touch on things from each aspect. So the north aspect of a plant is what the ancestors have done with the plant. The south is traditionally what herbalists use the plant for. The east is a little bit of research or science, that maybe what vitamins are in something or what's made of the plant, the science aspect. And then the west is the intuition. And so how you feel, what does the plant make you feel like if you eat it or taste it? So all these different plants, this is such an overview. I've literally been studying plants, going to classes for over 15 years. So each one of these plants I'm going to talk about, and there's 9 of them, I could do a class every Sunday about each plant. So it's important how to learn each plant. Education, education, education. Read, read, read. Check multiple sources. Make sure it's a legit source and not the ad at the top of your Google search. Don't use Wikipedia. It's okay, but it's not a source. But learn how to use each plant and what is harvested what time of year. If you harvest the roots of the dandelion or other plants the wrong time of year, just like chaga, you're not going to get the benefit. So like dandelion roots have to get harvested before it flowers. The same with the young shoots. So we'll get into that in a minute though. But you have to learn what you're going to do with the plant so that you know when to get it and harvest it and what parts you need. You can make infusions, extractions. You can dry it. You can use it fresh. This is so much info. I could do these every week like a crazy lady. But if you guys want to learn more on your own, I would get the Foraging Bible. That's what I was told it's called. It's called The Forager's Harvest by Samuel Thayer, Thayer. And he, in that book, is really good when you're learning to go through the woods and try to look at stuff. So I hope I'm not going too fast because it's so much information. My brain just soaks up information and then I get to regurgitate it to people. So thank you for listening. So that's my intro. Now I'm going to start talking about 9 different plants and then 4 different regions. I'm back. I'm always learning with herbalism. It's constant. It's always a new plant to learn about, always a new question. It's why it really helps foster the whole education aspect. When you start to learn things, you want to learn more things and more. And this plant, and what's that plant for? So that's pretty much what I've been doing and just myself studying for years. But a lot of people don't know plantain is amazing and it's all over your yard. It was nicknamed white man's foot at one point, but it's considered a weed. And it's not a weed. It's a phenomenal plant and it has so many uses. The best use for plantain is if you get stung by a bee or bitten by a bug or stinging nettles, you pick plantain. There's broadleaf and flatleaf. Now I can pull up the picture and show you, then I have to move my camera and then show you the picture. You guys can Google them. It's spelled Plantain. There's 2 kinds. You will know them when you see them. And they're all over everyone's yard. And if you get bit by a bug, you pick some plantain, make sure it's clean, chew it, rub it on where you got bit or where the nettles hit you, and it will stop any stinging or burning. Mosquito bites, bee stings, any of it. It's amazing. And it can also be used to fill a wound. If you're stranded in the middle of nowhere without a first aid kit and you get a big wound, you take it, you chew it up, because your saliva helps to activate it, and you pack your wound with it. It's like antiviral, antibacterial, and it has the power of drawing infection out. So back in colonial, revolutionary, and even before that times, it was to draw out infection. So plantain is awesome. It is a plant that's good for almost anything. So you could use plantain for all those things I listed. You can use it as an expectorant for coughing. You can use it if plantain tea for diarrhea, yeast infections, it goes laxatives, on and on and on. It can help all this stuff. So it's absolutely amazing. The cool part about it is also that it's nutrient packed. So real quick, it has B1, riboflavin, and flavonoids, beta-carotene, crude fiber, fat, protein, and carbs. Vitamin A, B1, B2, B3, C, K, calcium, chromium, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, and zinc. That's all in plantain. So you can actually eat it or make a vinaigrette out of it and get all those vitamins right out in your backyard if it's clean. Same with dandelions, plant number 2. Dandelions are not a weed. They came from Europe. Everyone acts like they are, but they've been used for hundreds of years. And the best time to get different parts of the plant is different times of the year. So spring and fall is when you collect roots. You want to get your greens before the flower. There's a flower, because those will be the less bitter and like the really sweet kind of tasting comparatively to old bitter leaves. So dandelion has been used for hundreds of years. If you can even collect it in the winter, if there's a mild winter and a snow melt, there'll be dandelion around. But it's a powerful detox plant, and it also is really good as a digestive bitter. So if you have trouble digesting food or get upset tummies, it's amazing. You can harvest the roots, flowers. You can make something out of all of the plant. You can make, they're called fritters. You can make flower fritters with the flowers. You can make dandelion wine. There's so many different things. Oh, I forgot. Plantain. I wanted to mention the metaphysical properties super quick, and I'll go back to dandelion. But metaphysically, plantain's good for luck, peace, vitality, healing, money, wealth, new chapters in relationships. And back to dandelion. So you can make it into an infused vinegar, tincture, a tea, a decoction, wine. You can eat it raw. You can cook dandelion. So these are all dandelion. You can do anything. Let's put it in a salad. Put some dandelion on it. Okay. Metaphysically speaking, dandelion's great for love, divination, wishes, when you need an aid, bravery, excitement, autonomy, strength. The plant reminds us to be bold. Its name is dandelion in French. So that is the end of the dandelion. We're on to plant 3, sumac, staghorn sumac, which is not the poisonous kind. It's the red berry kind that's everywhere. It's really good because it's antibacterial and antiviral. You can use it as a lemon substitute and make what they used to call Indian lemonade. And it's when you steep the red berries in cold water and it tastes like lemonade. It's really cool and crazy, but it has a lot of benefits. Like, it has a lot of vitamin C. The only other plant I'm going to talk about tonight that has as much vitamin C is actually great white pine. But using sumac, you can use it as a spice. Middle Eastern dishes often use it as a spice, but you can basically use it in a tea. It can help reduce blood sugar. It can help fight the flu. It's good for dysentery, your kidneys, your everything. It's another one of those all around. It helps a lot of things with the flux and the flow. It's anti-inflammatory. The berries are the best to gather though late summer. You can technically gather them all year, but the most potent and the perfect berries are going to be mid to late August around here, depending on how much water we have. The berries will be the most vibrant red of the year that time, and they have like a sticky feel to them. So it's a lot of fun when you start getting to collect them. It takes a while to separate them and dry them, but that's a whole other story. The metaphysical purposes for the sumac are change, protection, strength, learning how to set limits, binding, to break hexes, to break bound habits, and to empower crone energy. The next plant a lot of people hate on, they got a lot of hate for nettles, but it's one of the highest sources of protein in plants that we can forage outside. Nettles are the best in spring before they get too big, and they do sting, so you have to wear gloves. Some people like the sting, and I've heard the sting is good for arthritis and other inflammatory issues, just like using bee sting therapy is good. Sorry if I glitched. So she ran a class that I went to recently, and I learned all about the benefits of honey, but that's a whole other conversation. But nettles is good for your joints, eczema, arthritis, anemia, urinary tract issues, and it's another powerhouse of nutrition, similar to plantain. It has vitamins A, B, C, D, E, F, K, PK, thiamine, riboflavin, B6, niacin, zinc, iron, magnesium, iodine, sulfur, copper, and the formic acid. There's a couple other kinds of acid, but the acid on the plants is what makes you burn. If you harvest the plants with gloves on and then boil them, they are no longer going to be hurty. I used to call them the German Aui plants when I was a kid in Germany because I didn't know what nettles were. So to me, when I moved to Germany and found nettles, it became stinging nettle tea is great. But I used to call stinging nettles the German Aui plant. And then I found out that European nettles are 1,000 times stronger than American nettles. So that's why I'll never forget the German Aui plant. But nettles are amazing. You can make the tea. Like, I need to up my iodine and a few other things right now. So I got nettles at the co-op in Little Falls. And it's already dried for me because I didn't. And this is one of the most powerful painkillers that's non-opiate in the world, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. It's not a fungus. It is a plant. It has a flower, so it definitely has petals. It gets black when it's cold. If it gets too cold, it turns black. But it's amazing for pain tinctures. I actually get mine sourced from out west because ghost pipe is severely threatened here. So unless I encounter a mountainside of it, I'm not going to pick a lot ever here because I want it to be able to keep propagating for the future. It is actually parasitic. Some people think it's a fungus, but it's a parasitic plant that feeds off of trees, and it's absolutely amazing. It can help strengthen nerves. It's a nervine, and it's anti-inflammatory, a relaxant, antispasmodic, The benefits of ghost pipe are amazing for being a painkiller and helping with nerve issues. I use it frequently, but you have to be careful. It can get poisonous if you use too much of something. So I have to really, I know exactly how much I can use before my stomach is sad with me. These plants are underground 90% of the year, unless they're flowering. But its metaphysical information is that it's good to get information of strength, peace, and stability. But ghost pipe is a phenomenal plant. Next up, great white pine. Pinus strobus is its official name. I absolutely love this tree. It's the sacred tree of the Haudenosaunee, also known as the Iroquois. This tree is where the Great Law of Peace began underneath it. It's a symbol that many of them use. The tree was on the side of the banks of Onondaga Lake, and it's easy to spot the 5 brushy, airy needles that are about 2 to 3 inches on the great white pine. And you can do a ton of things with these needles. You can turn the resin from the plant into incense or pine pitch, which pine pitch used to be to seal boats and canoes. But you can make resin, you can make tea, you can eat the inner bark, not the outer bark. So with great white pine, if you're starving in the winter in the middle of the Adirondacks, you could go to great white pines, get to the inner bark, and actually eat it. It's jam-packed with vitamin C, and it helps draw toxins out of wounds, just like plantain does. So it's another one of those plants that if you're in trouble, it's there to help you. The resin or that you can use, you can bind a wound together as well. Not as well as it doesn't have as much antibacterial type aspect as, say, honey does, but you can cover a wound in a bind with the resin from the great white pine. It's anti-inflammatory, it's antiseptic, it can help with lung and sinus infections. You can cut you can make tea from the needles. I would recommend only having 1 pot for making things with pine needles, unless you want to ruin a pot. So if you're going to dedicate one to making tea with resinous materials, just boil up the tea, let it steep for 30 minutes, and you can have pine needle tea. You can put the needles on your stove with water and let it be like a humidifier, and it'll fill and purify your air. So it's a great, amazing tree. You can even, I have a whole write-up here. I'm not going to get into everything tonight, but it goes, you can make tea from it, so you can turn the bark into a flour if you needed to survive off it, and then bake things with the flour, just like you could with acorns. So great white pine is a powerful, wonderful tree, and metaphysically, you can use it in spells or charms for peace, healing, stability, strength, beauty, life force, energy, and grounding. So far, I got 3 people with me. Thanks for sticking through. It's so much information. Next is calendula. Everyone should have calendula oil in their house. I repeat, everyone should have calendula oil in their house. You can grow and harvest calendula and infuse it into an oil. It is one of the best things for our skin, especially if you infuse it in jojoba oil. Jojoba oil is the strongest, or the closest oil to our natural human skin. So if you infuse a flower like calendula, which is just amazing for healing and fixing and repairing skin irritations, it promotes healing, it helps infections, it can help reduce scarring. So calendula oil is a wonderful thing to put on yourself if you're healing or you're cut or you have skin conditions. Calendula oil, calendula oil, calendula oil. And they're a beautiful plant. They're gorgeous. They remind me of the sun. You can even eat the flowers. They have so many vitamins. They can help beat UTIs. It's one of the flowers, like I'm going to name the next few, are all flowers you can eat. And metaphysically, calendula is for protection, psychic dreams, transformation, health, serenity, thankfulness, excellence, prosperity, and you can use it in love charms. The next plant, number 8, is the red clover. A lot of people are familiar with red clover. One thing, I'm back. So if you touch the clover flowers too much, the oil in our hands messes with the biochemistry of the flower. So it's best to just snip the flowers and try not to touch with the red clover and the calendula. You can even add plantain in to promote healing. Red clover has been used for cancer prevention, indigestion, high cholesterol, cough, asthma, bronchitis. It has so many different health balances because it can do all these wonderful things. It can strengthen your immune system, strengthen your bones, and it's just wonderful to have red clover on hand. It's great for protection, love, success, luck, attraction, abundance, fairy communication, so they say, and a few other things. But red clovers are an amazing plant. I hope I'm not going too fast. I know it's a ton of information all at once. Condensed into 30 minutes. Mad information for your brains. Coming for your domes. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Number 9, the final of the plants that we love to talk about tonight is violets. Violets can be used in poultices or compresses, and you can infuse them in oils for skin abrasions, insect bites, eczema. You can eat the flower. You can use it for acne, cradle cap, and even hemorrhoids. So it has a cooling, soothing, and anti-inflammatory effect. You can make cough syrups or laxatives for infants or children, and you can eat them raw. Violets make beautiful garnishes in the spring and summer, especially in salads. So most people know the violet. Everything I talked about tonight that you can use and eat is easily something you can distinguish. Almost all of us know what a dandelion is. Almost all of us know what red clovers are. Almost all of us know what a violet is. So, and if you don't, it's really easy to look it up and check and be like, that's for sure this plant. And by knowing those plants, you can harvest them or find them on your own and know what they're good for. And this is just really a glance over. So there's so much more out there to learn about plants. So always keep digging. I'm always learning more, and I've been studying this forever. So the top 4 most dangerous plants. I'm taking a sip of my drink first. And this is more specific to upstate New York, or most of New England, I guess. Most of the plants I listed we can find here. I just got a message. I can see one because that's I love saying Pinus nervus. No, I've been attracted to it and using it since I was younger. But back to the top most dangerous plants, which a lot of people don't know all of these. I assumed, having lived in upstate New York most of my life, that everyone knew what poison ivy was, but not everyone does. So many people get rashes from poison ivy. I have been, knock on wood, blessed for never having it. But it can be pretty annoying, blistering, and itchy. And I watched a lot of people at different festivals from the city trying to teach people what poison ivy is and what plants not to pick and bring me. I'm not going to give any metaphysical properties for any of these plants because I try to avoid them at all costs. But there's actually 3 different types of poison ivy. I didn't realize that until I saw a DEC checklist last year, and it's pretty crazy. The rash does go away within several weeks, but some people will have extreme reactions, borderline anaphylactic shock from it if they're more sensitive. So you have to be careful. The wrong person gets poison ivy, and it could be dangerous. The next plant, it's not commonly found, but it's one of the ones you have to stay away from, giant hogsweed. It's extremely invasive, extremely dangerous. It's huge. It looks like wild parsnip, which is one of the dangerous plants I'm going to mention quick. But giant hogsweed can blister and rip open your skin. It can cause permanent damage. It's photosensitive, and the oils get on your skin, and then when the sun hits it, it blisters. So staying away from giant hogsweed and reporting it to New York State Department of Health or DEC when you find it is important, because you don't want it to seed, and they'll take out an entire area if they find the plant. To find out, I watched them just when I worked for the state dispose of one that we had pop up on property. It was pretty intense. They just don't want it to propagate because of how dangerous the plant is. Less dangerous than that, but also can cause situations, are wild parsnips. They also contain different oils that are photosensitive that can cause burns. So they're yellow with different stalks, and they're smaller. If you drive down any highway, you're going to see it taking over right now. If you drive down 5S between, you know, Utica and Herkimer, Little Falls, you will see it everywhere on the sides of the road. It's in Syracuse on the side of the highways. It takes over. It's kind of scary. It's everywhere. The roots technically are edible, but I just stay away from it because I don't want to get a chemical burn from a plant. So they're bright yellow, and they can be sensitive for up to 2 years, depending on your sensitivity. So it's not something you want to do. And the last of the most dangerous plants is the spotted water hemlock. And poison hemlock is toxic to humans and animals. If you have a beaver dog like mine, you don't want to let your dog chew on this. It's one of the, if not the most poisonous plant, one of them in America. It has white flowers, and they grow in little erect clusters. And it can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and seizures within up to a half hour of ingesting it. Like within 60 minutes, you're done. So you definitely need to know what hemlock is, but some people confuse it with Queen Anne's lace. And if you know what Queen Anne's lace looks like, and then you learn what water hemlock looks like, they're completely different. And they grow at completely different times of the year. So people freak out all the time when Queen Anne's lace is out. And I'm like, that's Queen Anne's lace, not hemlock. 2 different plants. It glitched again. I'm back. I'm back. No. So that's pretty much it, unless you guys have any questions. I know I just regurgitated so much information that you're probably going to want to watch it again or something. It's a lot to learn about, and it's a lot more fun when I could take you on a walk and show you the pictures. I was going to go print the pictures out and show them up to the camera, but that wouldn't do it justice either. So I decided to just name the plants. I can go through them again if you want and name just the names, or if you have any other questions about any of the plants, I can try to answer them. But these are the top ones that I'm pretty sure that anybody can ID or identify. You know some of these even though you don't know them. Like with plantain, the 2 different leaves. One's going to be like this, the other's going to be long and skinny. So long and skinny, and then broadleaf and flat leaf. And it's found everywhere, literally. Definitely eat wild parsnips, but I wouldn't risk it unless it was like near death. Then maybe. No problem. Thank you, Crystal, for being here. This was fun. This is my 2nd time ever doing this. I teach and I've done classes, but I've never done them online. So I'm like, I'm trying not to go too fast. I have a habit of going a little too fast. Or a lot too fast. But I mean, hey, that was what? 38 minutes of jibber-jabbing about plants. I'll repeat what I said earlier. Just make sure you know your source. You can grow it. You can get it from a reliable person. Or you can order it from a reliable place. But do your research. Make sure it's ethically harvested. Make sure the plant is sustainable. Make sure that it's being replanted, regenerate. Replant whenever you can. I've been gathering milkweed seeds. I've been gathering other seeds. And I'm like Johnny Appleseed when I'm foraging. Just reseeding and replanting. And finding out what's local. And finding out what's invasive. So like purple loosestrife is amazing, but it's not from here, and it's destroying the Utica marsh. But it was the time of year when purple loosestrife blooms. It's so beautiful, and it's great for different tinctures and different purposes, but it's not from here. So you don't want to go around reseeding a plant that's not local or native. And if you see something that's not native, you can try to take it down, which I do with my hori chop chop. But I don't know everything yet. I'm constantly learning. That's the part of this process. One of my really good friends, I'm in the dark. He works for ESF. So going on walks with him is fun. Scientific side of everything from him. And then I have native friends and other herbalist friends. And I learn a lot from them too. So I would pretty much be a certified herbalist if I had the money to do it. But I can't afford it right now. Broke teacher problems. But yeah, I hope you guys had fun. If you want and can think of any cool topics that you might want me to jibber jabber more about, I know way too much about local history, Herkimer diamonds, plants, various metaphysical topics, sacred geometry stuff. I've been doing a lot of crazy reading, like an insane amount this winter. So my brain has just been jam-packed with a lot of stuff. A lot of cool stuff about alternative history and how we're a species with amnesia, and history is much longer than we know. And I've studied the jinn and the Nephilim for a horror movie I helped make. So I spent 2 or 3 days watching lectures on jinn and crazy spirits. So I go to different lectures my friends' parents do on like Native American prophecies. I could do a whole thing on Native American prophecies. I just soak up the info. Soak it up, soak it up, soak it up. But I think I'm going to shut it down because I don't want to sit here and ramble. Ramble. Thanks to the 4 people who stuck around. Second time I ever did this. Whoop, whoop. That's not too bad. That's 41 minutes. That's enough. Well, thank you again for letting me host Sinday School. Feel free to message me if you have an idea about topics, or maybe I'll make a poll. We shall see. Stay witchy, my friends. I'm out. Bye.